Well, welcome to Get a Grip Studios, Daniel, Agathi, and of course, Luke. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. I'm very honored. I've been working with Luke since September, and it's been transformational for me. And if I go back in the past and try to tell myself what was in store for me when I began Luke's process of going into the heart, I would have thought, that's crazy. You can't do that. You can't be in those places. You can't transform the way you think and engage in your emotions in that kind of way and find the center of the hurricane, as Luke says. And it's a journey for me. I'm obviously 6 months into this thing, 8 months into this thing. Daniel, tell me a little bit about how your journey into this started.
When I was a child, I was very connected with this world, if we can say it, or this reality, some people they call it. I was playing when I was a child with all these chairs. My mom said I was 1 year and a half, and I was stealing her bucket. We didn't have a washing machine, 1967, 1968, right? And I was turning the bucket, and I was sitting on that thing like hours, and she really thought I have problems. She brought me to a doctor. I was born in Romania, and she tried everything she could do from her level of consciousness to understand her child, right? So, and later when she asked me why I stayed 6-7 hours there quiet with my eyes closed and my legs, she used to call the Turkish posture, lotus posture, right? Keep, if you saw
the Turkish lotus pose?
The Turkish, the Ottoman Empire, the sultans,
Sure.
they used to stay on a pillow and their legs were crisscross, right?
Sure.
And they, in Romania, because Romania was like 600-700 years under the Ottoman Empire,
Sure.
they used to call this posture the Turkish. So she went to a doctor. She said, my son has problems. He stays in this Turkish posture for 6-7 hours, and the doctor said, "Lady, the child is good. He's functional. He's very good." And then she went to her dad, my grandfather. That he was a chief of the Orthodox Church. He was the number one there. Actually, in 1957, he met the Pope. It was this conflicts between the Catholics and all this stuff. And my grandfather was a really a great man. He was talking 18 languages, including Greek and all this. He was a scholar in his own way. He was a master, and he was teaching people to be in the heart and all this stuff. And my grandfather said, "Woman, the child is good." And later I had a big connection with Zen. When I was 5 or 6, I remember somebody was talking with me about Zen meditation. And I like as a child, I was a little boy, I asked, what is this Zen meditation? They said, you just watch a stone. And I said, I love that thing. I watch stones for hours. And then I started to meet different masters. Lady Anna, she was there in Romania, a huge avatar of light. She helped thousands of people in these dark hours when the communists were killing people, torturing people, taking their money and possession. It happened to my family, right? We ran back to Canada a couple of times. I was first time here in 1971 in Mississauga, actually. Erin Mills Parkway, my uncle. And they caught my family, all these things, jail and all this stuff. Took all our money. They changed even our name because they said it's a capitalist name. My name was different. So we went through some stuff, and in all this, I would say, time of contemplation was for me, and understanding the world, why humanity goes through this path. I started to feel inside of me this warm energy, this warm place. I was a child, 6-7 years old, and I realized something is happening. Then I think it was in 1975 I was reading this, I got this book, Life After Death, about this doctor was talking about, I think there are like 25 cases, people who had clinical death, and they started to talk about what happened. And then it was a long, I would say, chain of masters that I had a chance to meet with in Tibet later, Drambalo, Lady Anna. So, and actually all of them were talking about the importance of living in the heart, understanding the world from the heart. And later, my wife Agathi, she's a world expert in HearthMath, Institute of HearthMath, which scientifically proved. Now we have the science. We have these guys, the doctors from California, they say, this is how the heart is working. We have this huge electromagnetic field. I'm speaking with you, but in the same time, our hearts are connected. This is science. There is no, I would say, mystical thing now. All is there. They can show clearly the role of the heart, and they can show the heart. I don't know, Agathi can say more related with the power of the heart and how much information the heart is sending in the body and all this stuff. Now I'm leading the School of the Heart, and actually you have the council of the school here. There are more, but we had to filter a little bit things, and we have today 118 plus 21. I was just coming from South America 4 days ago, and we had 21 new teachers, so we have 139 plus yesterday another, I think 10, yeah. 149 plus next weekend another 10 or 12, so we are 155, I think, teacher all over the world now, teaching in the School of the Heart, and I'm sure it is going to get bigger and bigger. We might think 155 for a world, 7 billion is not big deal, but I do believe it is something important for the humanity. The School of the Heart is the first school on this planet. The Sumerian tablets are talking about that school that comes from Adamic race.
Adamicles.
Adamic. Adam and Eve. So they call the Adamic race or indigo race, not because of the color of the skin, because of the third eye, indigo, right? Okay. The indigo, the chakra here in the middle of the brain pulsates through this indigo color. So it is the oldest educational system on this planet, the School of the Heart. Hundreds of years, thousands of years was under, they couldn't work well. Leonardo da Vinci, he was one of the
you know what's interesting? When you were telling me about the stones and sitting, it reminded me of a biography I read on Leonardo da Vinci, because he would go out into nature and he would sit by rivers for hours, and people would wonder what he was doing out there. Sometimes he was drawing, and sometimes he wasn't, and he was just sitting there. When you said, that's interesting that you said Leonardo da Vinci, because as soon as you told me about the stone, it reminded me of Leonardo da Vinci.
We are very connected with Da Vinci. Actually, in Cyprus, Agathi brought me to this place where Da Vinci was. He bought this.
He ordered. So Da Vinci was in Cyprus.
Last Supper.
He ordered the cover that is on the Last Supper, the painting that is covering the table. So there is a very certain pattern, right? That is on this tablecloth, and it was done in Cyprus. So they have the whole design, and they're making it again today, and it's sacred geometry, right? All the shapes there and all this stuff. So it's very interesting.
Let me ask you something about your biography a little bit. So, in living in a communist country like Romania, Romania was one of the most brutal regimes. Like say, Poland and Germany maybe less, but you get into Hungary and Romania and those southern, eastern Slavic states, brutal communist regimes. Is there a spiritual element to that?
Big one. Actually, Romania, we have I think the highest number of teachers, right?
Yeah, I think we have most
In the
teachers.
darkness, people, the only thing, so there is also a positive thing of this, I would say, such a brutal
What was the guy's name? I can't remember his
Ceausescu.
Yes.
Ceausescu, he basically, people were staying in line for like 5-6 hours for they gave them 250 grams of bread per day to eat. That was all. And they gave 1 kilo of sugar per month and half liter of oil, sunflower oil per month. So me coming from Canada, seeing this,
Sure.
it was hard for me to first to understand what's going on. But in all this darkness, people found a really good connection with spirituality. They became more silent, more. First, they were, people were really upset. They were afraid, but suddenly they managed to pass that moment, and they became more aware. And when we teach there, Agathi was there a couple of times. We have huge audience, 200 people, 300 people, big workshops. People from all over Romania, they come, they practice meditation. And now, of course, Romania is part of European Union, and you have all things like all over. It's starting the Western show, if I can say that.
Sure.
All the fast foods and all these things are coming all over there, and they take over because they really had good food there in Romania, very healthy. All the farms, the food was, you could really feel the taste of a tomato or when you eat. But now we are starting to, this globalization process that destroy the local healthy food and and it's coming. Romania, this is it. I mean, we are teaching in all over the world. Even in China, it's filled with McDonald's, and all this country that you might think Russia is filled with all this fast food. So unfortunately, we go to a direction where, if we do not wake up in time, probably, let me put it like that, the population will be less. Very soon. I can see that in the future if we do not.
Is that why people in Romania and these places don't want to have children? Like, it seems like there's a total collapse of the birth rate in Eastern Europe.
They are more, let's say, in older time, like my mom, there were 11 children, my grandfather, the priest, but now it's me and my brother, and I have just one child, right? And Agathi, she has a child from the previous marriage. So we have, basically, it is a way of I would say, trying to preserve the knowledge through a more care for yourself. Having 10 children is not easy. Basically, you sacrifice your life.
I think there's a place in between 10 and none.
Right. So it's now people are trying to have, maybe a child, or maybe take care of a child. Sometimes taking care of a child has the same power, and they continuously try to work with themselves, and I see that as a really balanced way. You have a family, or you have boyfriend, girlfriend, you take care of a child, and if you don't have a child, at least parenting is very important from the universal perspective. When I meditate and I see what's happening outside of our planet, like energy, let's say developed worlds, big systems like Pleiades, Sirius.
Hang on one second. When you meditate and you see outside of our world.
So I connect with different energies outside of our planet, and I see developed planets that they are in the 4th dimension, 5th dimension, right? We are the lowest dimension here. We can touch everything. There is light. They are made of light, right? But the education is very important. If you do not have a parenting in one life, they send you again. you are born again and again and again and again until you learn parenting, So you learn what it means to educate a child. Because from the perspective of the universe, if you do not know to connect with the pure energy of a child and to work with that energy, it's very difficult to work with fellows around you.
I think it's more difficult to work with that in our society as well.
Absolutely.
I think that it's actually the Western way of living, that where it is now and where it's going, it's actually much more difficult to connect with children now, in that with all the social media pressure, the phones, the TVs, all the screens, all this interconnection online, which is kind of like it's real, but it's also a false connection. Does that make sense, Daniel?
Yeah, we know. Our little one, he's 7 years and a half, and my daughter, she has a daughter, she is 1. So we can see in our house, and we can see now my daughter and her husband, we stay in Toronto with them, and we play with the little one, and we see, first, the children are different. It's a completely new energy. They call indigo crystal children. They see, sense, and feel different than us. It's a completely new generation because it's a feminine energy. 2011, 2012, if you study the planet, the energy, we moved in the feminine energy. So because of this reason, all the children that are born, I would say in the last 10 years, they have a completely new way of seeing and thinking and learning. They're learning, it's a completely different than us. So we're trying, from educational point of view, to educate the children.
Well, hang on, is it a cycle?
Yes, it is a
and
cycle.
And how long is the cycle? Do we know how long the cycle is?
12,650 years and 29
how do you know
days.
That? How do you know this, Daniel?
I think the part of spiritual process, astronomical events are very important. So we are very connected with this part of the energy. And we have to understand when the male energy changed to feminine energy, which means our planet and our energy is changing. Male energy is structure, 1, 2, 3. Feminine energy is fluid.
Is it order and chaos, kind of an idea?
Feminine energy is more, I would say, whatever you program or you schedule or you used to do in a logic way, and masculine energy now is gone. How many times you try to program something and it's wiped out, it's deleted, because it's a new energy. It's not working how it used to. After 2012, the feminine energy, and I'm not talking about a woman or a man, I'm talking about the energy inside,
masculine and feminine,
yin and yang, right? So I'm talking about the energy inside of us. If you do not change, if we are not fluid, if we do not understand the world from this perspective, and to be ready, because the feminine energy is like a spring water, it's flowing. It's not stopped by the, obstacles. The water find a way to move. So you have to be all the time ready to move in such a way, and ready to create in such a way that resonate with feminine energy. And that's a big thing for humanity. We see what's going on political. We see what's going on organizational. We see what's going on through all these companies. If you see what's out there, how the companies are working, the companies that are in feminine energy are ready to create something new. And they change very fast their process of production, their process of marketing, all this stuff. And I know I was in LG Electronics long time ago. I was chief operating officer. I was leading 200 billions, and I had 60, 70,000 people all over the world. So I know what I'm talking about. I have an MBA, and I remember the way how we were thinking then, and how now some companies, we are still trying to be in that paradigm, that matrix is not working. If you do not change, if you do not understand it's a new energy, and we're doing now, for example, workshops for companies. We are teaching them Agathi HearthMath is coming with the Institute of HearthMath from California has clear science proof things that shows the importance of the heart, breathing in the heart, the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, how you are balanced, how the heart rate variability is working. All it's science now. Now it's easy. If you really want to understand, you don't have any excuse. You can't say there is no, oh yeah, it is there, man. Take a book and read it. Listen to this podcast.
I got through about 30 pages of your book. Because I didn't know you were coming until Saturday morning, right? So I read about your trip to Tibet when you were frozen, and is that a true story?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get back to that. Because we're talking about feminine energy. I want to go to Agathi. Tell me a little bit about your story.
Okay, so I'm not going to go as far back as Daniel did. I'm going to go, closer to.
Are you from Romania as well?
No, I'm from Cyprus.
Cyprus, okay.
Cyprus, I know most people don't know Cyprus here. So Cyprus is an island in the Mediterranean.
Okay, I'll ask you a question that shows you I know a little bit about Cyprus. Are you a Greek Cypriot or a Turkish Cypriot?
A Greek Cypriot.
Okay, good.
Yeah. So I grew up in Cyprus, which is a beautiful island, and it's a small island, so people, have different interaction still between them. I come from a family where they were very involved in politics. Okay. That always made me want to be involved in society and what the people are doing and creating a sensation of wanting to help, assist in everything, going or working in a harmonious way, and people being able to express themselves and to be free and to everything to be just, let me put it this way. And this put me in a path of studying law. So I studied law. I'm a lawyer. I practiced law for a couple of years, and Luke is laughing.
That's a real masculine energy law, isn't it?
Exactly. So I always felt myself, I always put myself, because of the way that maybe society, environment, I perceived the world, in this paradigm that it had to be structured in order for me to be able to work in this society. I had to be in this way, which is something that I feel is changing in the world today. You have all these, I would say, the feminine aspect coming forward, that even if I'm feminine, even if I'm adaptable and I'm flowing, it's not a weakness, but it's actually a strength. And with all the changes that are happening, you can see how that's a strength. And so coming back to the story, I thought that this idea that I had of who I was and what I was supposed to do would bring me fulfillment, right?
Yeah, sure.
A career, a family, and all this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So
checking off the boxes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I come to a point where I finish my studies, I do my practice, and I'm working, right? I'm a practicing lawyer. I was in litigation, so I was in court every day. And
that's a real negative environment, actually.
I would say it's a reflection of society.
That's interesting. Yes, for sure.
Because you would see all these people and all the conflicts that people are going through, and you would realize that things are so much easier if you just talk to each other. Things are so much easier once you open your heart. But then people were not ready to do that because they felt that it's not, I don't want to back off, I want to be heard. I have the right on my side. Yes. And then you go to a lawyer, and the lawyer, of course, if you're if you're hired, you have to represent that person and his idea. You have different types of lawyers, right?
Sure.
So you can either go to, yes, you're right, we're going to squash that person, we're going to do everything.
Yes.
And then you have lawyers that say, okay, let's see the whole case, let's see how we can make it through, let's see how it works. But it's always like a lawyer's mentality is always, what can go wrong? Let me protect that person from what could go wrong. So it is a harsh environment.
I thought a lawyer's job was, how can I get as much money as possible out of this person? But anyway, sorry, but
obviously, when you represent somebody, you want to, that's what you give to people, right? You give them satisfaction in that context and money. So, anyway, I was in this position where I had everything that I wanted to, right? I had a boss that was telling me, oh, I see potential in you, I see you taking over. And it still didn't feel fulfilled. So I still didn't feel fulfilled. And that made me start questioning, what I thought was fulfilling for me. And if it was my thought of fulfillment, or it was society and the environment way that they taught me to think that it will be fulfilling. I know there are people that have these questions after years and years of working somewhere, and they're, when they arrive at a certain point, they say, okay, I really don't feel that I've achieved that much. Yeah, maybe I have a good position, maybe I have a good salary, but inside I don't feel,
I feel like women are more in that position than men in our society.
It could be that women are more easy, or they would be
I think men are fulfilled by the competitive elements of the business world more than women.
Is that fulfillment, or is this an occupational thing that you just put your mind that I'm still competing? I can still be best. I can be on the top.
Yes.
And women, I think at some point they might lose that thing that they don't want to be on the top. They might want to, but at the same time, when you start a family, your priorities change.
Sure.
So if you have a child, suddenly it doesn't make sense. Why do I want to be on the top? I want to spend time with my child. I want to enjoy. I want to have time with my husband.
Sure.
So it could be that there are differences in that way. So once this door opened, like what's real fulfillment for me, then everything just started flowing in, and meditation came into my life, and this is how everything started. And that point of connecting with my true self, which, it was very, very revealing. So I remember I was watching so many videos of people that if I would have heard 5 years ago, I would think, this is absurd. I've never heard of such a thing, talking like Daniel spoke about, other planets and beings and all this stuff. If I would hear them before I opened this door, I would be like, no, aliens don't exist. The government says aliens don't exist, other beings. We are the only thing that exists in this huge universe. And then, suddenly everything makes sense. So I remember myself, like, when there was this talk about time, and that time is not linear, right? It's the way we perceive time that is linear, but actually time is not linear. And I felt, it makes so much sense. I don't know why I tried to put everything in these, boxes and put everything in order, because there is order, but the order is not as we see it, right? It's like water. Is there chaos in water? There is order in water, but it's still flexible and it's still fluid. And it's still, adaptable. So, and I think the moment that comes when you hear yourself, and I would start with that, like truly listening to yourself, which comes from a moment of quiet time with yourself. Closing your eyes and just staying there and listening to all your thoughts and everything that's going on.
You know what? That's a wonderful. Whenever I read about meditation before, it was always this place where you had to stop your thoughts and you had to sit quietly and you had to concentrate on the breathing and all this kind of stuff. And with Luke, he's opened me up to this wonderful world inside there that is really unbelievable. But a name popped into my head when you were talking about the universe and aliens and all this kind of all these words that we name all this stuff, but a name popped in, a guy named Copernicus. I'm sure you know who that guy is, right? It's interesting because if you go back to his time, I read a book on Copernicus recently, and he was telling people, no. The Earth revolves around the sun, right? And people were like, what are you talking about? And look, the sun comes up here and goes around the Earth. Like, can you imagine him coming to the Pope and saying, no, man, you know what? The moon revolves around the Earth, and the Earth revolves around the sun, and all these planets are revolving around the sun. And this guy's like, people look at him like, what are you talking about, buddy? Of course that doesn't happen, right? And actually, Uranus goes the other way for some reason. We don't know why. He came upon all this. It's interesting that what you guys are talking about, you're kind of like Copernicans in a way.
Yeah.
Like you're like with Luke, he's like no, there's a whole world available to you inside the heart. where you can, like, literally people say to me, looking at you guys right now, yes, I've traveled back in time in my own life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my own life, and I've seen myself when I was 25. I've seen myself when I was 19. I haven't been able to get past the 19 yet through the Tibetan method. I get stuck there a little bit, but that's why I'm so lucky to have Luke in my life, right? So there's a Copernicanness to you guys that I find interesting. So Da Vinci popped in my head, and then now Copernicus. So how did you end up meeting Daniel, and how did the whole Heart Institute start?
Oh, so I met Daniel. I met Daniel in Egypt, actually.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a, I would say, in the sensation, the Copernicus theme. It was a meeting that was meant to be, a
Okay.
meeting that was meant to happen, and we know each other very well. We've connected with each other many times in this life and others.
Oh, before you met him. Okay.
Yes. And so the heart work is something that you come to the moment you start going inside yourself, right? And you go deeper and deeper, you're gonna find your heart. That's there. So if you read very ancient texts, right? Even Christianity, they speak about the heart, right?
Yes.
So it's somewhere that you will come at
I
a
think
certain point.
So I'm a Catholic, okay? And the way I see what I've sort of, I don't know how to describe it the right way, but there's this place that you guys are very deeply involved with that I've been opened up to. But religion is like layered over top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you start taking the teachings that Luke has showed me, and you look at, all of a sudden, Jesus' words come alive in an unbelievable way.
Exactly.
And the ancient texts come alive in an unbelievable. People are talking about the same thing, and in the Tao Te Ching, they talk about the name that can be named is not the eternal name, right? So we speak these words like grunting apes, in a way,
Yep.
and we're naming them, right? Like we want to name them now. Okay, so it's ego. Well, that word was made up by Sigmund Freud or Carl Jung or one of these guys. Or you name it something, and then it means something. But if you read things, even in the Old Testament, vanity of vanities, all this vanity. I think if you replaced ego and vanity, it would be the same thing as what you guys are talking about. They're speaking about the same thing, a lot of these, what you call masters, I think it is, right, Luke? They're
Yeah.
speaking about the same thing.
The thing is, you understand these things once you have the experience of it. So what happened in our society is because we forgot about all these experiences that we had or who we truly are. We couldn't understand the texts, and that's why religion went a certain way, right? So the moment you go back into understanding or having the experiences that these texts are talking about, then you can really vibrate or resonate with what they're saying. And I'm gonna take this and go to, in the Lord Jesus prayer, right? It says about the Son of God, and help us sinners, right? Give us mercy because we're sinners. So if you take the Greek version, what does a sinner mean? So if you take the word is amartolos, right? That's a sinner. But amartolos doesn't mean a sinner. It's the person that forgot their way. They forgot who
Yeah,
they
they're
are.
missing the mark.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. Yes.
Or have
Yes.
mercy. Mercy is in Greek is not feel pity for me, feel sorry for me. It's about give me grace.
Sure.
So once you have the experience of love, and they're talking about love, which love is a vibration, love is a space where you are. And it's not, I wouldn't put it in an emotion, even though it's used as a feeling or emotion. For me, it's a vibration. It's why we are made
I
of.
totally understand what you're talking about, but how do you explain it for somebody that's never listened or never encountered this type of, what's the word, practice? Is that the right word? Or have you engaged in this type of practice? It's a vibration for sure. And it's for me, it's also colors. There's certain things have colors to them. Like emotions have colors to me now, and I can see them sometimes. And how do you describe it for somebody that's, driving in their car right now and they're saying, this is such a load of crap. I can't believe Colligan on his show is talking about time travel and vibrations and emotional energy
And aliens.
and aliens.
I wouldn't try to explain. So what we do, what Luke did when you met, is he showed you.
Yes.
So he took you through exercises. He took you through experiences. Because you can speak all day long about these things, and it doesn't matter, because it's going to be just information that your mind is going to be occupied. But if you truly want to understand, right, you want the wisdom. Our world is based on information, but information is it's a layer that's on the surface. It doesn't really change you. It's just information. If you truly want to experience, if you want to truly understand and have the wisdom of it, you have to go into the experience. So you start by, there are so many practices that you can do today to be in this vibration of love. And the heart is love. So it's connected. And it's a huge opening, right? You open yourself and suddenly you realize that I'm not separate from my neighbor. I'm not separate from anybody else. We're all together. We are a community. We grow together. We fall together.
Sure.
So you suddenly come together. Suddenly things don't have distinctions like you thought. Suddenly we are not so different, and yet we are unique.
Can I ask you about Greek?
said.
Can I ask you about Greek as well? So Greek has 3 words for love, not one. Right? Is there 3 types of words in Greek for love? Agape and something like that? I can't remember. Because love is such a broad term, right? When you talk about love, like I love my children, I love my wife, but that's not really exactly what we're talking about, right?
So if you take the word, I don't know if the Greeks will agree with me, the way that I explain the word love in Greek. So love in Greek is agapo, which is ago and pan, which means I go to the all.
I go to what?
To the all, to oneness.
There you are.
So once you are in love, and I would say in love in the sense of inside love, and not in love how we use being in love with something or somebody.
Or replacing it with lust. Actually, a lot of people are really in lust.
Exactly.
Rather than love. Yeah.
So once you're inside of love, then you are one with oneness. So nothing is separate. So you would be in love with a tree, with a flower, the same way you would be in love with Luke and with you and with anybody else. So there is no distinction. There is no distinction in male and female. There is no distinction in your child and any other child. There is no distinction between anything, because there is one love. There is one vibration of love. And once you're there, you are so full, you ooze love. So everything around you comes into this energy. So I say, don't love people, be love. So when you are in this state of love,
you know who else would say
says
that
love.
as well as Jesus Christ? Actually.
Yeah,
he would say the same thing. Yes,
but he was in this state. Why did people heal around him? Why did people feel this way around him? Because he was that.
Wow. Whew, Daniel. So tell me about your meeting together when you're in Egypt. Did you know that you were going to meet her before you met her?
Yeah, actually we met a little bit earlier, a couple of years earlier. And Egypt was the second encounter, and
Was it the first physical encounter, or is it because not everybody knows exactly what you're talking about?
Yeah, we met a little bit earlier when I was visiting Cyprus. It was in '94. And then in Egypt later we met teaching there, and it was.
So you both were already teaching.
She was that time she was learning meditation, and she was learning how to go into the heart, and she was searching inside of her that place of love and harmony. And I was teaching. I'm teaching from good long time, so my soulmate again. We met here, so it's lovely to listen when she's speaking. I'm just mesmerized.
I saw that. Did you not feel it?
Me too.
I was mesmerized as well, actually, yes.
Thank you so
I was trying to stay as the host here.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was
That
very
was
beautiful. what you
really
said.
beautiful,
Yes,
really
it was very beautiful.
Thank
And just so you know, Scott, hopefully he's not mesmerized, because there's some social media clips definitely that have to come from that. Like just some of the things you said about vibration and love were absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Seriously. So tell me about, Daniel, about I don't know if this is the right word, but you seem to be on a mission. Or you seem to be on a quest. I don't know what the right word is here. You're moving forward in this world, and you're spreading a message of love and peacefulness and all these words we try to describe it. Where are you going? Is there a goal?
So first, I'm very lazy. If you let me to read a book and meditate, this is the best thing I can do. So it took me a lot of, let's say, contemplation time to understand that I have to do more than just stay there and meditate in that park or in that place or in Tibet or in Mount Athos or wherever I was. And I connected with a couple of masters of this planet, and we were talking, and I know maybe I have the energy to go all over, maybe I know some things and I put all together, but I was somehow, I would say, approached, as the right word from the perspective of the listeners. I was approached by others, human and non-humans, so asked to take over the School of the Heart, that is the oldest organization on this planet, more than 40,000 years. Before me, it was a great master that he is still very, very active. Drambalo Melchizedek, very well known. Between 2007 2009, when I took over the School of the Heart, and I started to do this pretty, I would say, time and energy consuming job that others did it. Big shoes, Da Vinci, Lao Tzu, Confucius, Buddha, and they were leading the School of the Heart on this planet. So now I'm back on modern time.
So you see yourself as in line with those great masters?
The way how I see myself is different than I would say. I see myself
you're inheriting their mission, their quest?
very relaxed and enjoying this planet. I had some big jobs. I had a really good time, and I don't regret a minute. I was born in a beautiful country, and I'm living in a beautiful country, and I just came from South America teaching in Chile, and in a couple of days I'm going to Hong Kong, and then to China, and then to Thailand, and then Europe, and I see that this whole world, maybe the fact that I was born in a country and I grew up in another country and I studied in another country and I work in another country, I learned so many things. So if you ask me, first I speak 7-8 languages, none of them I don't believe I speak correctly. Secondly, I don't feel home here where I grew up, or home in Romania where I was born, or home in Russia where I study and work, or home in South Korea where I work, or home in so I really feel I learn wherever I go to connect with Mother Earth. And in this connection, suddenly I understood that we are all one, literally. And if we understand that and we stay in the heart, I really believe this planet, actually not the planet, it's a wrong way of saying, we as humanity, we have a good future, a good present and a good future. I can see that.
There are so many people that would say, no, the future is going to be bad for us. You know, you really have that feeling right now that, especially if you watch the news, which I try to avoid as much as possible, because it's very polarized and negative, And there's a lot of tribalism and hatred in the news, in every channel you watch, basically. So your message is that the future is positive for humanity?
Yeah, I can tell you that. I'm literally going all over the world, not too many countries where I didn't teach. And I can tell you, the people started to see, sense, and feel in a different way. People that yesterday they never ever understood what's going on, now in a natural way, the feminine energy started to open their heart. And I'm sure very soon things are going to change on this planet. At planetary level, global level, local level, governments, financial, I can see a big change. I mean, I don't believe it's normal to stay all your life to work for a box. These apartments are boxes.
Sure.
Or to just go there. I don't believe we're supposed to have organic stores. That means the governments, they approve part of the population should die because we are eating bad food, and part of the population should be alive because they buy organic food. Since when we have such a thing on this planet? So a lot of things are going to change. I'm invited all over the world at TV and universities, and I'm speaking about the same thing. We are all one. We understand or not, that's another story. But we are all one, and sooner or later we will understand why the heart is important, why we have to create from the heart, not from the brain, and why we have all of us to work together for a better planet, for a better future, for everything that all our ancestors are talking about, the elders, how we call them, these elders, we are talking about, we are all one. I can see it. So maybe if I have a mission, is just to tell people, just stop whatever you are doing and inhale, like say, enjoy life. Go there and look at the water, look at the grass, try to take care of the planet, of children, of elderly people, clean this world, and things are going to be really good.
You know what's really not strange? Luke tells me not to use those words like strange and crazy, but what's really beautiful was that when I started on this process, I started washing my face more. Isn't that like beautiful, like in a way? I just started washing show up for yourself every day, and I didn't even realize what was happening to me. But you start washing your face more. And like little things like that, if everybody was able to go into their heart and show up for themselves, that's your line, Luca. That's how you explain it to people, right?
Yeah.
Just show up for yourself every day. And so tell me a little bit more about the science of this Heart Institute.
Okay, so
because people are waiting for this. They're like, oh, so there's science behind this.
There is science.
Okay.
Yes, you can, be relaxed now because there is science that backs up the heart. So the Institute of HearthMath is based in California, right? So for the last 30 years, they have been researching the connection between the brain and the heart.
Okay.
And at the same time, the connection between emotions, the brain and the heart.
Okay.
So what it's now proven, right, what's now measurable is that the heart has the biggest electromagnetic field in the body than any other organ in the body. So they measure, if I'm not mistaken, now, because it depends on the sensitivity of the organs they're using, of the instruments they're using. So I think they can measure it about to 2 feet around the body.
Okay.
And then the brain's electromagnetic field is like 1 inch or 2 around the head.
2 meters, no, 2 feet. 2 feet is like this.
Oh,
she's thinking in European measure, which is 2 meters. 2 meters is 7 feet.
Maybe 8 feet.
8 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
huge.
the heart-
it's huge.
Yeah.
So the heart is
So our hearts
huge.
are all connected here right now.
Yes,
Absolutely.
our hearts are all connected. And what happens is that they exchange information. So even if we speak or not speak, our hearts are still talking to each
We
other.
were just talking about this last night.
And what also happens is that now they can tap into your electromagnetic field, and they can tell you what you're feeling. Because what happens is what you're feeling
Hang on 1 second. So they can tap into the wireless field
into
around
the
your body
Yes.
and know what your feelings are?
Yes. because that's what you put out there, right?
I totally believe that, actually.
So
I 100% believe that.
you know, sometimes people ask, you ask somebody, how are you? And, we have this tendency of, how are you? Is like, yeah, good, but they're not good. And then you feel this vibe coming out of them, because you can say one thing, but what you feel is already out there. So if I'm frustrated or if I'm sad, and depending on the person, right, that you have across you, maybe they sense it, maybe they feel it. Children are much more sensitive than adults because they're much more open to the experience of it. So your emotional world affects your state of being, right? It affects your hormonal release in the body. So it's very known now, survival mode. So when you're in survival mode, then your body doesn't function properly. Then you won't be as intuitive as you can be. You won't be able to resolve problems the way you would do if your body was functioning harmoniously. So what we say in HearthMath Institute, they use the word coherence, which is when the emotions, the heart and the brain are all working together. And that's the best state that you can be, to be the best that you can be. Let me put it this way. So everything is working in harmony inside of you. So you're more connected with yourself. Your decisions are solid decisions. They're not at the moment, when you're emotional, when you're in a survival mode, then your decisions are usually based on fear, which I think it's obvious that it would be the wrong way to take decisions that will affect your life, right? So it's becoming more and more, I would say, popular with the world and the understanding, because you have all the science now there that explain, how stress affects your life. We have so many people around the world that are ill. And they're trying to say, okay, it's because of this and it's because of that. But one of the factors that is out there is that people are stressed. People are overwhelmed. People live most of their lives in an incoherent way, which means their body, first of all, their body is not working properly. So how do you expect people to... So our body is supposed to heal itself. That's natural, the way the body works. But then our bodies don't heal themselves. So why isn't...
Or they attack themselves.
Exactly. So why is this happening? But if you're not living in coherence, then how would your body do what it's supposed to do?
Sure.
And it's very interesting, and I would say, we've talked about different things, and there are people that are open to it and there are people that are not there yet, but everybody wants to have a healthy life and everybody wants to have a happy life. And once you realize that you are in charge of this life, you're in charge of your world.
I'm not sure that's true. I think there's some people that hate themselves legitimately.
But why do they hate themselves? And take the root of that and where it's coming from. So my son, sometimes says to me, Mom, you made me sad. And I said, no, I didn't make you sad. You chose to be sad because this happened. It doesn't matter what happens around you.
Sure.
Things always change. You have good days, you have bad days. Are you going to be a victim of the good events and the bad events and everything that's going on around you?
I think people have this desire to be victims in our society. There's like this there's even a competition to see who can be the biggest victim.
Yeah. Sometimes it's easier to be a victim and to say, I can't do anything about it. I cannot do anything if the government is behaving this way. Yeah. I cannot do anything if, my husband is, I don't know.
Tyrannical or whatever.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have no choice.
Or even go the other route and be an activist is easier, right? Than to go within.
So it's about coming together. It's about putting all the pieces together, realizing the truth about who you are, realizing the truth about... So another thing that's so important is that they know that the heart sends more messages to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. And this has been knowledge since the 1800s. Right? So we've been taught, or we grew up in environments where they told us, think logically, think with your brain. This is how you decide. But in truth, the information that are coming from the heart are so much more. And we were taught to think of the heart as I'm emotional when I'm in my heart. There is no connection between the emotional world and the ups and downs with the heart. The heart is a very stable environment and vibration.
So explain the mindset difference for someone who's like, I'm very stressed out. I can't find peace and solace in my life. I'm fighting with people a lot. I'm in conflict a lot of the time. How do you explain so you say mindset's probably the wrong word, right? Mindset. But how do you explain that from a perspective of the simplicity of it? Like with Luke is like, open your eyes. That's the one way he, start seeing better. Was how would you explain it? Like when you're in your heart, when you're living from your heart or whatever it is, how would you explain it to people?
I would say that
How do you know? That's a better way to put it.
When you're in your heart, you know who you are. You stop identifying with your body, if it makes sense. Like, you are not your personality. You are not your beliefs. You find out that you're more than that. You're so much deeper than that. Your personality changes, and it will change, and it's formed because of the environment you grew up, your parents, your society, and all this stuff. But behind this veil of I'm an angry person, or I'm a feminine person, I'm a masculine person, or I seek justice and whatever, I'm ethical. That's a layer, and that's boundaries again, right? So behind this layer, there is this being, which is you, which is part of divinity, which is part of God, which is part of oneness, that has no definition. And that's liberating. Once you take yourself out of all these boxes, suddenly, what do you remain with? Infinite potential, the infinity, the divinity that you truly are. And you change, and you flow, and you adapt to situations, and yesterday you were a different person. Today you're a different person. You're always a different person. What holds you the same? Your belief that you are that. If you wouldn't have the belief that you are that, who would know where you would be tomorrow?
A name just popped in my head is another one, Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who, everything was taken from him. Everything. His family, his wealth. He lived in the gulags of Russia. And he realized that he came to that place as well in his book. It's interesting that name popped in my head.
Similar with Viktor Frankl in the Man's
Victor
Search
Frankl,
for Meaning.
yes. Another one, yes, Viktor Frankl.
I remember a picture in his book where they had about 200 of the people that were in the concentration camps in a room. And the caption was, you look at this and think that they're in a horrible situation, but these 200 people or however many it was, had been out in the cold for the last year. And in fact, they were in a state of complete happiness and bliss just to be in a warm, even though there was 200 of them, you know what I mean? It's interesting how we adapt when we're not bounded by the person.
Well, I mean, I don't wish to walk even one step in those shoes. So hopefully we can go to the heart instead of towards what seems to be, if you follow we have Brexit in the United Kingdom, separation. You have basically tribalism in the United States. Like, it's basically a tribal affair right now. People at each other's throats on either side of the situation. You have how are you resolving these things in your heart, Daniel, and yet still remaining positive on the outlook when every message from outside of yours, I would say, would be one of a negative outlook for the future?
First, I never try to change the world. I always work as much as possible with myself, trying to be in my heart. And I know there is a world out there, and we are teaching all over the world, and we were in Egypt when they start killing people on the street there, and Romania, the revolution, and all over the world we saw things happening. And during the workshops, people came to us. We were crying, and they really felt forgotten by God, if I can say that. I can say that first we created this, what they say in Ho'oponopono, that system, that the mass consciousness of the world creates presidents, situation. It's true, right? Now, how we can solve this thing, I think it's coming from each cell in our body as individual energy. That's the reason when somebody speaks with me about things are happening there, I always ask what's going on with the people there, with each individual, right? So if we understand, or if we want to understand, because sometimes you have the level of consciousness and you have your belief patterns that keeps you in that state. So I can explain you how good it is to have a good diet. And me and my wife, we are vegan, and Luke, we are all eating healthy, and we understand. I can explain you how good it is to stay in the heart. If your belief patterns keeps you to that level of consciousness, you slowly have to make the steps. You can't force anybody to follow a meditation pattern, or you can just send them love, you send them light, you show them a good example. You are, healthy, happy, you enjoy life, and you take care of this earth and the people around you. And I think that's enough at this stage. We are in a lot of projects. We are working with a lot of projects. Some of them outside. Last year I was invited at United Nations, and I had there in headquarters in Vienna. I had a speech there. So we are trying as much as possible from our hearts to help the political people, the organization people, and so on. But I would say, because I was invited a couple of times to go on the street with people, to scream, I don't believe that's the solution, to go there, to fight. With a fight, you fight another fight, let me put it like that. I don't see that as an option. And our planet went a couple of times through similar events, and empire went down, like we know very well, the Roman Empire, Ottoman Empire, and before it was the Mayans and the Aztec and Inca, and all these huge empires that they arrived at that stage, they went down. Either you choose the creation from the heart, or sooner or later you will pay a price. And this is the price of us creating just from the brain. And I can see that. However, I can see small core teams all over the world. They started to work from the heart more and more. And as Buddha said, I can influence 2,000 people easily just through meditation. And actually HearthMath demonstrated that. They did that experiment in Chicago, right? And they each 100 people, they could influence 1 million. And in these 3 days, when they meditated, so it was like zero. The criminality rate went down,
yeah.
like 90%. The hospitals were empty, and the business was flourishing. Mm-hmm. And there are 300 or 400 people. So there are some famous experiments that they show meditation, staying in the heart, it has an effect, right? And we are going there, and I see conflicts, I see wars, I see so many things happening all over the world that are showing us we are still creating from the brain, and we don't understand really how this world is working, and we always blame others. We don't try to look inside of us to see what we have to do to change the world, not our neighbor. But I'm positive. I follow the pattern of my the masters that were leading this school, and they saw in the really dark hours of humanity. If we remember Da Vinci or Galilei, what the Inquisition, they were killing millions of people at that time, and they still said This is the way. Be in the heart, make good things. As Luke said, these people, they were there, frozen, and they were still, in their hearts, they had the power to forgive. So I would say this is the option, and this is the only way for humanity. It's called unconditional love. It's very simple. We don't have anything, and this is actually the passport in this universe, right? If you meditate, you see something very interesting. When you pass through this dimension, through Orion is a huge cluster of pretty developed, much more developed than us, worlds. So when you pass through meditation, you go there and your spirit passes through that gate. The passport, there are 7 things that all are in our hearts: love, truth, beauty, trust, harmony, peace, and reverence for God. If you have these 7 essential qualities around you, you pass the gate of Orion. This is the passport. This is the customs there. Love, truth, beauty, trust, harmony, peace, and reverence for God. These 7. We don't ask you papers. We don't stamp anything. When you pass, you have to have this. Whenever I pass there, this is what they see, these energies around me. So I pass like you cross the street, and I can see a lot of beings from other places we cannot pass. And I see these qualities going inside of us, growing more and more. So I am positive. I believe, and I see, sense, and feel that we as humanity will go over all these difficult steps, and we will get all together, and in one day it literally will be one heart. In one day, I'm sure we will communicate in a different way. Already the academy in Moscow, I was invited there years ago, and they work through gravitational system, and I'm sure that's going to be the next system of communication, heart to heart. So I'm in my heart, you are in your heart. So we send messages.
The way you're talking about it sounds like the heart is like a Bluetooth mesh network or something. It's
Exactly.
you know you talk about
But
Bluetooth mesh.
It is.
It's like one heart to the next. Everything's connected in that way.
Yeah. HearthMath demonstrated that actually. They have all these clusters all over the world, and it's interesting when they do this experiment, scientifically proof. They have this M wave. They put that thing to your ear, and you see heart rate variability. If you are in sync, and you produce alpha waves, you are in your heart, and you can see how these clusters, this network, they work together, and it's a huge influence around that area where they meditate and they are in their hearts. So I'm very positive, actually.
How about you?
If I'm positive or
Yes.
not, I'm sure that I would say that everything that happens and the way that things happen are how they're meant to be. And we do the best. We are the best. So we try to be the best. Let me put it this way, right? So it's an individual work. And from there on, I do feel that the time is right for things to change, to improve, to go more inside than the way they have been, which was an outward, it was an external experience. So I do feel that people are coming back to that, and people are challenging the system.
So let me ask you this. So you were saying that there's something that needs to happen where people need to stop living in their brains, is this the description, and turn into their hearts.
Yeah.
Is that the message?
That's the way that it is. You cannot live without being connected to yourself. You cannot live without being, connected to your truth, to who you truly are. This is these games are very popular today, and these movies like zombies. They're sleepwalking. Nothing exists. It's just an automatic mechanism of you've been taught to eat and you've been taught to drive, and this is how we live.
Like zombies.
Yeah, like zombies.
I think that's a great comparison, actually.
So
consuming zombies, just like zombies,
exactly.
Eating the living.
Yeah, and
That's interesting.
And the thing is that why would you live like if you live like that? You're just going in circles, right? You don't do anything new because you're just repeating whatever happened yesterday, and you'll keep repeating whatever happened, So once you become awake, and this is awakening and this is enlightenment, let me put it this way, it's going inside of you and truly being awake of who you truly are, remembering who you truly are, because the knowledge is there, the wisdom is there, the information is there. It's all right there inside of you. So it's a natural process. It's something that is going to happen. Now, unfortunately, what happens, or what happened so far, is that people, in order to change, they have to be forced to change. And it's so much easier when you change, when you first get the message, it's time for you to change. Everything flows so much easier instead of waiting until the last moment where, something will hit you, or you will not have a choice, that you will need to change the way you've been doing things. So I feel we're at that point now that we can still choose to change. We can still choose to live, right? We can still choose to live awake, to be awakened. And but beyond that, whatever happens, it's a good thing. It's a process. It's, each one lives in their own world. It's a perspective. Our world is dependent on a perspective that we have. There are things that we label good and there are things we label bad, but in essence they're experiences. So it's for sure, it's nice to have easy experiences, pleasant experiences, but then you had experiences, and like we all had experiences in our lives that were difficult.
Sure.
And after a couple of years, or some time, we thought, I've learned so much from that experience. Even though it was an unpleasant experience, I've learned so many things, and look where I am today. So it could be the case with humanity. It could be the case where we all change, opening up and creating something new before that tipping point comes.
I think with our natural progression, just to add a couple of things also, is that, in this time now, because of the transition that is occurring on this planet, and because of our tendencies as human beings to want to be special and want to be the center of attention, what we're experiencing is a community of people, facilitators, teachers with the best of intentions, but intentions that are flowing through their brains. Right, because they still want to be the center of attention, but now it's spoken in a very loving and kind way, and we're dealing with a population who is confused and is going in directions, and the directions they're going in are the ones that have the most marketing money, have the most people behind them, the most exotic template.
They're almost like, in this sense, they're victims of consumerism.
Of course, of course.
Like if they are victims, that's what they're victims of.
And it's done in an ingenious way because it's using neurolinguistic programming. They're planting seeds in the subconscious mind. I mean, it's control, right? The best thing, as what I've learned and so graciously with, Agathi and Daniel as my teachers is that just go out into nature. Don't go looking for somebody to teach you how to live and how you're going to live your most purposeful life. Just stop. Live your life. Spend time with your family. It was a very hard thing for me to figure out when Daniel would continue. You just need to slow down. I say, well, no, I have all these things I need to do, right? And as we slow down, life slows down. So go out and sit there and put your back to a tree. That will be the greatest teacher that you could, much better teacher than I could have, or assist. I see myself as a student, so I don't really identify with the word teacher, but go sit with your back to a tree.
I would say that Luke is a messenger from God. That's what I say. When I tell people, what is Luke? I say he's a messenger from God.
Put your back to a tree, and that forest will be your greatest teacher.
He always gets awkward when I say that. But
it's which is part of my process of just working through old things. So go and spend time there and sit. If you don't know how to meditate, don't worry. Close your eyes. It's the word we use. Just be in silence. Spend time in nature. Spend time with and see what starts to flourish. You'll find the heart in a natural way.
Sure.
But we don't have that amount of time anymore on this planet.
It's funny when you read these books on meditation, and if we've been speaking for an hour and almost noon now, so if you can believe it, it's a time warp sometimes in here.
Yeah.
If we could do a meditation, that would be wonderful. I don't know if Daniel would do it. We'll turn the lights off and the TV off,
or maybe an imagery exercise or
something like
short.
that.
Yeah, we can do that. Sure.
Yeah, and
So we are going to do an imagery exercise that it's easy to do. Anybody can do this exercise. First, remember to keep your spine straight and relax and breathe rhythmically. Relax your eyebrows, relax your shoulders and relax your hips. And tell yourself, I am completely relaxed. I am completely relaxed. And we are going to breathe in and breathe out 3 times. When you breathe out, imagine all the problems, all the thoughts, all issues are going out of you. And imagine yourself, your body is a beautiful house. On the top of this house you have a beautiful room, the room of the brain. The room of the brain, and right there in the middle there is a staircase, like a spiral. It goes down inside of you all the way. And it stops in the middle of the chest, near your heart. So put your attention in the middle of the brain, and with your intention, let's slowly move down, past the level of your eyes, the level of your nose, the level of your mouth, enter throat. Imagine you go down all the way and you exit throat, upper chest area. And now in the middle of the chest area, step out of the stairs. Turn to your left, there is a door, a beautiful door there. Open the door and get inside of your heart. Please remember, close the door behind you for a couple of moments. See, sense and feel the energy of your heart all around you. With 7 qualities: love, truth, beauty, trust, harmony, peace and reverence for God. All of them are there around you. And now see, sense and feel you are on a beautiful hill, and it's the time when the sun is up there touching your skin. So imagine you are there, and there is a bridge there that connects this beautiful hill with another hill in front of you. You pass this bridge and you arrive on the other side, and see, sense and feel there a completely different dimension, a completely different world. When you turn and you look behind you, the hill, the first hill disappeared completely, and the bridge disappeared. You see something that is completely different. Instead of the first hill, there is another form there. It might be a huge crystal, it might be another world, a pyramid. There is something else there. Breathe out 1 time. You walk on the other side of the hill. You arrive there is a lake. It's not made of water, it's made of light. Go inside of this lake and start swimming. How do you feel swimming in the light instead of water? And you start diving, you go down in the lake, down, down, down. You can inhale and exhale there. And you arrive down at the bottom of the lake. There is a beautiful place there, and there is a chair and there is a table. You sit down. At that table there is a small gift for you. It might be an object, it might be something. Look at the gift carefully, attentively. If it opens read what is inside or look inside. Take the gift and you dive up now. You swim to the shore, you get out of the lake and you sit down there on the beautiful green grass. The drops of light are falling down. You look at the gift and you remember who you really are. All of us, we breathe out one time. Gently, gently put your attention back here and open your eyes. So this is a beautiful imagery exercise from the heart imagery tradition. And it connects us with who we really are and with the light inside of us. The first part of the exercise, we let all the old belief patterns first heal. All the tradition, all the things that keep us in these belief patterns are gone. The second part, we just connected with the light and we got a small gift, might be very important. Maybe our higher self are giving us a message. So this is an imagery, old, ancient heart imagery tradition exercise. Very powerful.
My gift was a mirror.
I got a small crystal, but it was like a sphere, made like a sphere, so I could open like yin and yang. It was very interesting. It went and inside it was some letters from another place, not from this planet. It was a message. What did you get?
I got a small crystal, but the mirror is a very interesting gift.
I get a crystal too.
The mirror is in imagery. If you get a mirror, the mirror is a portal. In imagery, is considered a door. So you have to
I couldn't
open.
see myself in the mirror though, but it was a mirror. It reflected the light that was dropping off me. I could see the light, but I couldn't see myself in the mirror.
That's a sign that you have to pass a portal or a level of consciousness. When you get a mirror, it's a clear sign your higher self said you are ready. So just take the step, take the leap of faith. Go.
Go.
So that's
there's the answer for the question you asked me last night.
Yeah,
You wanted to ask
sure.
him.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Oh man. So it's interesting about Luke's method. We'll say call it a method. You show up for yourself every day.
Which isn't mine, by the way. It's just been passed down. So I'm just passing it on.
The method.
Yeah, there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that a better way?
Yeah, beautiful.
Sorry, I'm still kind of in that place.
Yeah.
No, I have it takes me some time to come back to light bulbs. We need a dimmer on that. Does anyone know a lighting guy? So, but it was the method is like, then all of a sudden you start to see the expression of your ego, and then you see these sorts of things, and it becomes like there's like a process you kind of discussed it with yourself a little bit. Like, and I watch my podcast with Luke, and I see it's so egotistical, and then you forgive yourself, and then all of a sudden you become to thank your ego and appreciate it and emotion and so on and so forth. But I was going to ask you, what is so when I'm in my meditation, sometimes I feel like a calling or a vocation towards something. How does one discern the difference between one's ego, which is always trying to trick me back into a bad place, and the sort of the vocational call or destiny or that sort of thing? How would one?
Well, it's very simple. We go back to the previous discussion. Is the difference between brain and heart. The difference between fear and love. So the more you practice the heart meditation, you started to see, sense, and feel the vibration of the heart. It's completely different than the brain. There is no comparison. When you are in the heart, there are some thoughts we call the divine thoughts or cosmic thoughts. When you are in the brain, Harvard, they already said it, you have more than 70,000 thoughts per day we're talking about. But in the heart, there are just a couple of thoughts. I am light. I am love. I am, compassion. So there are, we call primary thoughts, the thoughts of God. But the rest you have images. And there's a difference between masculine and feminine energy, right? In the heart, it's warm, it's soft, it's pleasant, you are calm. The thoughts are gone, the issues are gone. So you see, sense, and feel in a different way. The world becomes through the eyes of the heart. So all these things that are happening day by day, that are eating you alive, these small things, they are not there anymore. You just see, sense, and feel as a cosmic citizen, not as a citizen just of this planet. You understand the whole universe, which is a completely different paradigm.
I feel like I have a little tiny part in your mission, Daniel. And
no meeting is by chance. The fact that we are here speaking about these things has a huge, powerful impact on people around us, on us. Nothing is by chance. Every step we are doing, every meditation we are doing, is a reconnection with who we really are. So I think you have a bigger part, not just a small.
Any final words?
Just love. Just, for all of us to learn to be, first to love ourselves and accept
That's actually
ourselves.
might be the hardest step.
Yeah, it is. I because we've conditioned ourselves for so long. So just totally love and accept ourselves and who we are. And we are the same, and in the same time we are unique, because each of us brings something different in our missions, in whatever we are here to do, in our experiences. And I think once we learn that, once we find that, not learn, because it's not knowledge, it's experiential, it's, when you find yourself, you love yourself, you have no choice. It's when you see children and they're so beautiful, they're so pure. Unfortunately, we forget about that when we grow up. When we become adults, we think we are different, but we are not. Inside of us is still that pureness. So the moment we find that again, then that changes everything. That changes the whole game. That changes the whole experience. So I would say, try to find yourself, connect with your heart, and love yourself, accept yourself.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.